I think that's the
Okay.
yellow button, right? The live button.
Yeah, I'm just checking on the page now. So I'm checking on the actually live stream page on our on the site to see if it works. So just bear with me real quick. And hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We were just figuring out some technical issues. None of us are engineers, therefore we have problems. Operating simple
But we
tech
play
things.
one on TV very
That's
often.
right. That's right. So, thank you everybody for joining. Just message us in the chat and say hello and where you're from, just so we make sure that you all are here, and that would be great. And so, just in the meantime, I just want to introduce. Obviously, many of you know my good friend Ramon Osa, and he's just a wonderful guy in the online world. He has really fun and instructional videos, lots of free content and great premium content as well, at osatennis360.com and the YouTube, obviously. And I always really enjoy doing live streams with Ramon. We've done a few already, and just wonderful to connect, especially through this great thing we call the interwebs, which makes this all possible. So, Ramon, how's everything going?
Dude, it's going great, Mehrban, and likewise, man. I love getting together with you because there's always some shenanigans that are going on, and that's what I love. Whether it's Australian accents or we're talking about the volley or backhands, and I gotta say, man, the thing that you put together here with the summit. I mean, you guys watching at home, this is one of the most amazing things that has ever been created for tennis. And the fact that you get 35 amazing coaches from all over the world sharing literally their biggest secrets is mind blowing. I mean, the fact that we're talking on a computer here is enough. But so thank you, man. I really appreciate having me on, and happy to be here.
Thank you, appreciate it. And just give us a little bit of a background. I just want everybody to know, like, what sparked your passion in this wonderful game that we call tennis.
Ah, I see you're from France too.
Oui, 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 oui.
Oh shit. Hold on, my phone's ringing. Oh, so dude, what happened was I was 16. I was always an overweight kid from like age 8 to like 16. And I got to about 16 and I was about 200 pounds at 5'6". And, I looked like a bowling ball, with curling two ding dongs to my mouth. It was really bad. And I was like, well, you know, start eating apples and figure out a sport, to play. And my buddy Josh, who is like a Bruce Lee clone, is said, "Hey, come out and play." And I said, "Man, this would be great." So I go out and I play, and one thing leads to another. We start playing every day, and magically, weight starts to come off. And so my friends say, "Hey, you should join the tennis team," because we started, kind of getting into it. We ended up winning a bunch of matches, and that was like a huge revelation, right? Because here was a kid who was the most unathletic, shy, overweight kid you could have ever met, and all of a sudden, I was walking around school, and people are like, "Hey, that's the tennis player or whatever." So that was just totally foreign, and then which was really cool. And then I got into college, started playing, and didn't have any money like most college kids. And few people said, "Hey, I heard you're a pretty good tennis player. Would you show me how to play tennis? And I'll pay you." And I said, "This is like the most amazing thing ever." So sure, and start playing and start teaching, and kind of one thing led to another. I met some of the best teachers and coaches in the world, and that just kind of took on a life of its own. And that's how I got to where I am today, the mercifully short version.
Awesome. Appreciate that background. And yeah, I mean, it's for me, as I guess to give a background if anyone cares. So my dad would just take me out to different sporting events, and also for me to just like try it out myself. So I tried basketball, soccer, tennis, all the different sports, baseball. And I just kind of fell in love with tennis. I asked him to play tennis more than anything, and so he took me to the local parks and we played, and it was really just a wonderful time. And then I competed and actually did really well in my very first futures tournament, which was like a lower level tournament, obviously, like I guess when I was like 11 or so. But that obviously, I think that success did help. It always helps if you're successful in the beginning, but regardless, I love playing it more than anything else. And so that's, I just ended up, training and playing at a decently high level in juniors. And I think I got to like top 200 in the US, and top and number 7 in the Mid-Atlantic region at one point in the 16s. Then I played college tennis at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and then took a break after law school. And during law school, actually. But then I fell in love with the game again because of USCA leagues. My friend Victor introduced me to that. And yeah, it's just been great from there. Just always really love improving. And, part of that is, checking out the great resources on the web, like Ramon's videos. Like I mentioned, Ramon's videos are some of the most fun and also greatly instructional ones. And you'll really enjoy yourself, especially if you like humor and fun and a good time while learning. That's Ramon's videos are the perfect ones to check out. So would you agree with that, Ramon?
Dude, first of all, I didn't know that you were that decorated, man, as a junior, and all those accomplishments. That's amazing. And like the sacrifice that went into that, and the fact that you still came back. I've heard so many horror stories of kids who turn out to be really good players and they just get totally burnt out on it. And obviously you did the law school thing, which is another, amazing feat, but then you came back to it, shows that, your dad really introduced it the right way, which is amazing. And yeah, I think the videos I make are always first meant to amuse me. And I figure if it amuses me, there's a good chance it's going to amuse you. But they're all, kind of hiding the biomechanical and tactical truths that I've learned from the best coaches in the world. So it's kind of like slipping the spinach into the smoothie, so to speak. You get the vitamins, but hopefully it tastes good too.
Awesome stuff, Ramon. So let's get into some juicy content. So the first question I want to ask you, and this is like super, it might be tough on the spot, but what's the greatest tennis tip that you've actually received before?
Oh man, that's tough. Because there's so many and from so many different coaches. But I would probably say just the idea of progressive overload. The idea of, okay, so you take one basic skill, okay, and if let's just take the forehand, for example, okay, as a basic truth. And let's say we want to make our forehands better. We want more power, want more spin, more control, and all that stuff. Well, the first thing we got to start from, in my opinion, is the contact, because that's the moment that decides what the ball does. So what we would do, if you were on a court with me, is we would really focus on knowing exactly where that was, through a series of drills. And once you've gotten comfortable with that and you feel pretty confident with it, then we would take it to the next kind of mini level. And the next mini step would have that contact point within another task or another thing that we're doing, right? So like starting to take the racket back a little bit, or learning how to create a coil, and just blossoming the stroke outward from there, and really like stacking things on top of each other, which is not what most players, especially at the rec level, do. Most players, when they go out and they say, okay, I want to get my forehand better, they'll just go out and they'll hit with their friends and they'll whack a bunch of balls, and they're saying, okay, well, we're practicing, we're grooving our strokes. But that's not really the most efficient way to actually improve from a technical or time, perspective. So I'd say it's probably that. It's being able to chunk down skills into really small pieces, and then systematically and strategically building those pieces on top of each other.
Gotcha. Great stuff. And
how about you?
Oh God. That's a great one. Now you're reversing roles here.
I turned the tables. You see what I did there?
Yeah. So one thing that I really think is super important, and it's kind of overlooked, is actually the dynamic warm up before matches, because it really makes a big difference for me personally. I totally, feel it, because what I used to do and try to avoid is I would just, would have a match at 9 p.m., hustle out the door. I have a 20-minute drive. I'll leave at like 8:39 to leave 60 whole seconds to before the match, and then I'll get there and then I'll have to start immediately, or even have like a 5-10 minute warm up and then start. And it's just simply not enough for me. I mean, maybe some others it's enough, but so what I tried doing after, I have the Tennis Files podcast that I host, with a lot of great guests on there. And so, I talked to some people about fitness, and they really stress the dynamic warm up. And so, now I arrive like 15 minutes before at least, and like I'm doing my different dynamic stretches, and then I'm getting warm. The muscles that I need to use are being primed and ready for play, and I'm feeling like I'm more into it, in the zone and things like that. So it's really great to have a routine like that instead of just rushing onto the court. And it really does make all the difference. Obviously, like, the practice that you put into it, and technical, tactical, that stuff is really, really important. But this is just one that kind of stands out for me because it's something that I neglected to do. I thought I could just get on the court and play, but it would take me like a whole set to finally feel into it, and that's no way to go. You don't want to just give up a set before you're ready.
Dude,
so
that's spot on. And that's a huge one. And Federer even said, like, when it was a kid, when he was 19, he'd jump up and down a few times and he'd be ready to go. And as he's gotten older, one of the reasons he's able to stay on top is because he's taken the training element so much more seriously. And it doesn't mean it can't be fun, but I agree with you 100%. That's something that's very powerful.
Yeah, for sure, Ramon. And so, kind of along the lesson line, is there one particular speaker on the summit that you just found has like wowed you in terms of like, content, or just overall, like whether something you learned during the summit or like outside of the summit that you really, really, enjoy that person, just learning from them?
Oh man, I admire everybody, because everyone has this just unique perspective on the game, and you're never going to know it all, right? And you're going to have something you can learn from everyone. But one that sticks out for me is Craig O'Shaughnessy, because he's really taken the data, and the statistics, and says this is what's happening, at every level, including up to the pros. And it gives you a foundation to build your training around that is going to, provided you do all the other things right, is going to help your game in a countable, quantifiable way. So he's really cool, and he's such a cool guy. He was with Djokovic for a reason. So I'd say probably him. And I mean, everybody's got some really amazing stuff. Ian over at Essential Tennis, what he's doing with his group is just, I think it's really great, because they're coming at it from so many different angles now. So that's just a couple off the top of my head. How about you?
Man, let's see. So, I mean, I love Craig, for sure. Like, he's super interesting guy. And like, it was very interesting too, because he mentioned that he just basically found exactly what he loved, because he knew that he didn't want to travel. Well, he didn't want to be like a traveling coach. It was just like too much stress. And he didn't necessarily want to like teach lessons, but what he wanted to do is like write and analyze like statistics and strategy. And so he basically made his like dream job. So that's super cool. And I definitely respect that as well. And he always comes out with so many cool articles, like after a lot of important ATP and I think WTA matches as well, just on like certain statistics that really pop out. Another person that I really like a lot is Paul Annacone. I mean, he's coached so many different legends. I mean, Pete Sampras, Roger Federer. I wonder if anyone knows him. And Tim, right? Yeah, Tim Henman. And I mean, just incredible stuff. And he's just such a nice guy. Just in corresponding him like with through email even before like we set up this session. It was just great. Really respect him, and he's also helped one of my other friends who's on the tour, who's coaching Sloane Stevens, my friend Othman Garma, and so he's really giving back to the game and doing great things, and just a nice guy.
But going back to Paul Annacone, he's like, watching him on TV, he'll always have like a 2 or 3 sentence thing that is so incredibly wise. I mean, the way he looks at the game, because he's got such an intimate knowledge of what it's like to work with the best players in the world. We get a chance to see like the way he analyzes the game. I love listening to him too.
Yeah, for sure. And so another, maybe it's just random here, but another great tip that is something that actually a lot of players, especially I think within like the 2.5 to 3.5, maybe even 4 level sometimes don't do. And it's very simple, but it's using the continental grip. And I know it seems so simple, but it really is important because, if you have that sort of like frying pan grip and you're just trying to like hit serves, you won't be able to get that sort of velocity and speed that you would normally, because like if you think about, let's say like a quarterback, they're throwing like this, they're rotating, they're not like throwing the ball like this.
The
And so
shot
that's
put.
just, yeah, exactly. And so that's just another really important tip, and it makes a big difference because, to be honest, like at some points I wasn't actually a full continental. I was kind of like more like shifting my knuckles to the right a bit. And then when I
Mhm.
shifted it to the continental, pure continental, it really made a big difference. So, yeah, I mean, that's just another tip. And I'm just wondering, like, do you experience that, or have you seen that with your students quite a bit?
Yeah, totally. In fact, Esther, who just joined the call, hey Esther, we just had a lesson on this a couple weeks ago on the serve, and we were talking about the grip and stuff, and she's in a true continental, which is awesome. But it is so crucial, to be in a grip that allows you to do the things that you want to do, and it's not necessarily has to be continental for everybody. Um, by the way, my screen just went out, man. I don't know if.
Oh, I still see you.
Okay, cool. I thought it was just blackout. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but for most people, the Continental is going to allow you to hit all the different spins and allow you to grow your serve without limits. As you're progressing, my friend Bill, who's 75-year-old guy, he just picked up tennis 10 years ago, but he learned tennis with the frying pan grip. Not even the Eastern forehand. He's like all the way over to semi-Western, and he's just now decided that he wants to make the switch. And it is definitely something that is possible. If you're at home and you're thinking, man, I've been hitting a serve with this grip for 20 years or 30 years, it is absolutely doable. But you got to know that also that it's a time investment thing too, because your body has learned how to do something, and it'll never completely unlearn how to do that, but you can give it another option, and you can give it that continental grip and allow yourself to experience that pronation and that snap, that's going to give you the power and the spin and all the things that we want. So yeah, continental is by the way, Boris Becker did not serve with a continental. Truly, he served with a somewhere around that Eastern forehand. So all hope is not lost if you're with an Eastern forehand. If you're wondering, can I ever hit a spin serve with an Eastern forehand grip? Maybe, it might be possible, but the continental is definitely the preferred grip, for a reason.
Awesome stuff, Ramon. So this is a fitness-related tip that I really enjoy. This is from Dr. Mark Kovacs, who is from the International Tennis Performance Association, who's a sponsor of this summit. We really appreciate his support, and I'm a proud member of ITPA as well, and also the Kovacs Institute. So, and this was actually on the highlights video that I posted on Facebook a while back. But for the summit. So he said, I asked him, I said, what's the one key tip that you can give our audience to help them improve their movement? And he basically said, like, just get your legs stronger and get more flexible, and then you'll be a better mover. So I just want to see like your thoughts on that particular piece of advice.
Man, 100%, 100%. In fact, the legs, I think, are really what separate legs and flexibility are what going to separate the good players from the okay players from the great players. And core strength, core stability, leg strength, and obviously training these things in a way that is going to be functional. So you're not just hammering away on straight leg curls, but you're really training in 3 dimensions. And Dr. Mark Kovacs is just done remarkable things for tennis. I also like to recommend to you, if you're at home and you're really into fitness and training like an athlete, there's a guy named Jeff Cavalier who trains the players from the Mets, and he's also a physical therapist, and he's got a channel on YouTube that you should totally check out. It's called Athlean X,
Oh,
Lean-X. He is, I mean, like, he's off the charts. I mean, I'd highly recommend him, not from just a functional standpoint, but how to gain your strength, how to gain flexibility. You know, if you're dealing with pain, how to, you know, tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, you name it. He's got a fix for just about everything, and he really gives you the knowledge and the drills that'll fix you.
Great stuff. Yeah, I heard about the Athlete X, and he's doing really well and has some fantastic stuff. And I'm wondering, you know, just in general, like what type of fitness, if at all, do you have your players do, you know, when you're training them?
Yeah, so it's always good question, man. It's always a warm up, a dynamic warm up that you're talking about. So with the really little kids, it's usually something involving a ball and, you know, catching a ball, rolling a ball, moving to the ball, getting some sort of movement involved. And as the kids get older, or if I'm working with adults, you know, it's a lot more, you know, getting the rotator cuff loose, getting the rotator cuff strong, making sure all that, you know, synovial fluid's going. So arm, shoulders, twists, maybe a lunge sequence, you know, stuff that we're going to be using. And obviously I always encourage everybody to do their stretches, especially at night, like right before bed, because that's when your muscles are going to be in the same position for the longest period of time. And lengthening them before bed is always a great idea. Yeah, dynamic stretching, definitely strength training. And it's something I've gotten into, you know, fairly recently is the strength training. I think it's been amazing. So definitely having a complete fitness program, and, you know, nutrition too. I guess we could go into nutrition and talk about that for, you know, for hours too. But pizza and beer apparently is not the best right before a tennis match, which is a big bummer to me.
I don't believe it. I
we need more research on this, but that's the early consensus.
Okay, I see how it is. So as I like beer after. So as far as, yeah, it's a little bit. So as far as like strategy, you know, one thing I learned, and you know, sometimes it's important to reiterate things that we know but we don't exactly practice. So like for me, it's really important to always remember the importance of the game plan, you know, like, because a lot of us go on the court and just like end up reacting to what's going on, and we don't really have like a game plan in mind, like point construction, like what's our strength, what's our weakness, and vice versa for the opponent, and then like come up with like a sort of strategy. And I found, like, as I've talked to all these fantastic experts like Ramon, that I think more about this when I'm on the court, because I used to be just kind of like, I don't want to say brain dead, but just just like, you know, reacting to things and just like, all right, I'm just gonna play without thinking. And you know, I understand, like, yeah, there's, to some extent, there's that like playing in the zone where you're not even thinking. However, it's always good to keep in mind like what type of strategy you want to employ against different players. So what's your take on that, Ramon?
Oh man, first of all, I know exactly what you're talking about, because having no plan was my plan, you know, for the longest time, especially when I first started, because I had no athletic skill. You know, I didn't play any sports growing up to speak of. I mean, we threw the football and stuff, but once I got into college, and it was very clear that all of these guys had pretty good strokes, and we had to figure out a way to actually win. That's when strategy became so important, and it's a way. If you've read Brad Gilbert's book, Winning Ugly, that you can get a huge advantage over your opponent just by having some sort of plan for what you're doing. And, you know, finding what you do best, I think, is always a good place to start from. And then finding what your opponent is least good at, you know, is another good place to start from. And then joining those two things together as much as possible. And then stuff like understanding court geometry. You know, if you've got your slice serve in the deuce court, if you're a righty and you can hit that slice serve out wide, where's the second ball going to go? You know, it's probably going to go down the line, you know, or cross court backhand or inside out forehand. So having those kind of 1-2 punches, I think, is a really good way to think about point construction, because, you know, if you're only thinking one shot at a time, you're not really setting up your opponent. But if you're thinking 3 or 4 shots, you know, you're off to the races. You know, you've already started thinking about too far in advance. So 2-shot sequences, serve and volley, side to side, peppering one side if it's his weaker side, moving him around. There's a lot of different strategies that you can use. But one thing I would always ask myself after every point is, and I think I learned this from Craig O'Shaughnessy, what's working, what's not working, what should I do next, or what is my opponent expecting me to do, and what should I do next? And if you ask yourself those 4 questions in between every point, you'll be a star by Tuesday.
Totally. Definitely think that's true, Ramon. So another one of these like crazy tough questions for you. What are, let's say, maybe a couple of the biggest mistakes that players from like the 2.5 to 4.5 NTRP rating are making today that you just see that are frequently happening that you want to just kind of talk about or mention?
2.5 to 4.5?
Yeah, maybe let's go 2.5 to 4.0.
Okay, I think it's probably it changes as we go, but I think reckless shot selection is definitely up there because we see it on TV and we see oh, well, Federer hits this winner down the line within 2 inches of the line, and we think, well, that's the way we're going to play. So we go out and we aim for the lines, and just not playing strategic percentage tennis, right? Which is
strategery, right? Is that what they call it? Strategery?
Strategery, yeah. So, playing, take a ball that's cross court, keep it cross court, don't be the first one to change direction, unless you get a short ball and you have a chance to move inside the court. Play to the guy's backhand most of the time, and not trying to hit winners from behind the baseline. I see that a lot, especially with guys in the 40 to 50 range. The guy will be way out of position and he decides, okay, now's the time he's going to smack that winner down the line. And, it's just knowing if you're in a offensive position, if you're in a neutral position, or if you're in a defensive position, and having a clear plan for each of those. So I would say probably reckless shot selection would be the number one thing. How about you?
Let's see. So I think one of the number one things that people make a big mistake on, to be honest, is they don't like seek some sort of instruction. So, I mean, basically, they think that it's not, they rather not invest like now to get like big rewards later. So whether that's like investing in like a really good course from like a top level like instructor online, or whether that's investing in instructors that are near you, like whether it's at a club or somewhere else, or through maybe Player Court or something like that, or a friend Scott Baxter has, like it's really important to do that, because if you're trying to improve by yourself, I feel like the only way you could do that to really improve is to like take video of yourself. Because the thing is, it's really hard to see your own mistakes, like you'll be playing and then like you'll be doing something, maybe you have a hitch and you have no idea that you have the hitch, but it's robbing you of power. And so I think like the easiest way to improve really is to have some sort of coaching available. It's just really worth it. That's why people have mentors and why people seek, help for other things. It's because like, it can get you to where you want to be quicker. And so, that's one kind of big mistake that people, I think, make. Another one that I've seen a lot actually is after matches, or practice, you play a tough, whatever, tough round of tennis, and then everyone's like, all right, bye. And, they just walk to their car. And so that means that you'll experience some nice pain after the next day. And so really what you need to be doing is you need to have like, you need to stretch, maybe have a stretch band with you, and put in even that like 5 to 10 minutes at least to stretch the bigger muscle groups in your body, starting with the legs. I think is better to prioritize that way. And it'll really pay a lot of dividends. And then also another one too is people don't get enough sleep, and then they wonder why they haven't recovered. And that's because sleep is the biggest mode of recovery. They've had studies on this, especially in like other, it was like the Stanford basketball team or something like that. And then like they forced them to sleep like 10 hours a night. And then like basically every statistic went up percentage wise by like 10 to 15%. So it's pretty amazing. So those are some of the mistakes that I see being made. So
Dude,
what do you
that's
think?
crazy. Yeah, no, 100%. I didn't know about the Stanford thing. That's crazy, and it makes total sense. And the going back to what you said about, getting a coach or getting some quality instruction. And I will say, with the right coach, and I'm kind of screwing myself here, but with the right coach in person, there's nothing that can replicate that. If you have a chance to go train with a really top flight coach who can be there with you on the court, as amazing as video is, and as much as I believe in video, that's like the holy grail, okay? Because he's going to see stuff in real time, and he's going to prevent you from doing a lot of the stuff, like Mehrban said, that you don't even know you're doing. And so that's super powerful. With the adventure, or with the onset of video's a very close second, because now you get to see things from a bunch of different perspectives, and that aids in the visualization of stuff. So your motor neurons are actually being triggered when you're watching somebody in a totally relaxed state do the thing that you want to do. So, like, let's say we want to learn how to serve better, for example. Watching Roger Federer in slow motion in a totally relaxed state, from multiple angles, and starting to visualize yourself as going through that process yourself, actually fires the same motor neurons in your brain as if you were actually doing the movements. And that was the theory when the guy wrote, I forget his name, Galway, The Inner Game of Tennis. So the mental work is a whole nother animal, but I think that's very powerful. But just to add on to what you said, Mehrban, definitely get quality instruction. Find somebody that you can connect with, and understands you and understands your needs and knows how you learn best, because I think that's super powerful.
For sure, Ramon. Really appreciate that point. And yeah, as you mentioned, like the mental game, I definitely learned a lot from our wonderful individuals for that session. Like we had Jeff Greenwald, how to play your best tennis of your life. And then we have Alistair McCaw, how to be champion minded. And then just some other great sessions, I think 7 in all, actually. And I'm actually just looking at the list here. And we also have Neil Endicott, meditation and mindfulness based psychology. Actually, I want to ask you, Ramon, about meditation, because I'm a big fan of it. I feel like it really helps relax you and focus on the court. I'm wondering if you have explored it, and if not, if anyone you know has tried it with good results.
Yeah, definitely. So when I was like 22 years old or something, I was into all kinds of really destructive things. I mean, like alcohol and even some drugs that, was not one of my best moments, but I needed a way to kind of get out of that, right? Because that's clearly not the long-term solution. And I started meditating when I was like 23 or 24.
Wow.
And it was something that totally changed my life. I mean, and it's still something that I do, not necessarily like sit on a cushion for 20 minutes every day, although I think that can be great, but just developing a sense of presence and being aware of your thoughts and being aware of your body. It does so much for just making your baseline level just raise, and you start to feel more comfortable in your own skin. You definitely become more clear-headed. If you have issues on court, you miss a shot and you break a racket, like, many of us have in the day, can start to mellow you out a little, but it also helps you connect with other people, so if you have a doubles partner, and you guys are talking strategy in between, that can really help you. So I got nothing but good things to say about it. And I would say it's not what you think it is. It's not like, okay, I got to sit in this weird lotus position and light incense and all there's so many different forms of it, but having some sort of presence practice or meditation, I think, is super powerful. How about you, Mehrban? Do you do the old yogi meditation stuff?
Super yogi, my friend. No, I'm kidding.
I got green lavender tea on the kettle right now.
Could you email me that, please? Thank you. No, but it's sick. Actually, so I have been meditating for a while. I think I've racked up so I use Headspace, which is a wonderful free app. I mean, as a paid version too, but they have more than enough for your needs. Like they have like a 10-step like basic course and then some other different ones too for you to try. And I've meditated over 2,000 hours with that app. And I actually recently hit a 60-day milestone, and it was broken because I was working my butt off for the summit. So there were a couple of mornings/nights, reverse that, where I couldn't, I just didn't have the time. And then, I had to go to work and stuff, and it's just crazy. But I love meditation. My girlfriend has even said that she finds that I am much more calm in, challenging situations than before. So shout out to Cheryl. And she's right over there somewhere. And so, yeah, I mean, I love meditating. I really enjoy it. And it's really easy. Headspace, apps like that make it super easy, and you don't have to do like any creative. I just mixed up crazy with lotus and said kratos. You don't have to do any sort of crazy lotus position, for that. So it's super easy, and you'll really enjoy it. So I highly encourage it. It can actually change your life. So we have let's see, some questions already coming in. Hello also to 165680. That I love that name. Also hi to sorry if I mispronounced it, but Jai Menon. And is that an Ali G icon? I love that. Ali G is so funny. Respect. That's what he does. Anyway, so Jai he says and asks, he says, I volunteered for the New York Open and watched Harrison jog for 25 minutes on the treadmill right after his match. What does that do in relation to what you said about stretching after playing, etc.? So, Ramon, what do you think that type of jogging, for 25 minutes after the match does?
Dude, good question. I think what it is you got your body that's just gone through this crazy battle, right? You've been running around for 3 hours, and it's gone through a bunch of trauma in a way. And so you've built up this like lactic acid in your body. And I think the jogging is just a way to kind of recenter your body and start to clear out some of those toxins. And this is, by the way, a totally rectal extraction method. I'm pulling this answer right out of my butt, but I think it has something to do with getting rid of the lactic acid and also loosening up those muscles in more of a constant, steady state cardio. Either that, or he ate a hamburger the night before and just wanted to burn some extra calories.
There you go.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think. Holy crap! I just forgot the question.
So Harrison was
oh yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing, because like a lot of times like you'll be sore, and this is like different, but let's say like lots of times I've been sore like the day after playing, and then I'm thinking like, what the heck do I do here? And like one time I rested for like 3 more days and I was still sore. And I was like, I got to do something. So I finally went on the treadmill and elliptical, and then I felt way better. So I mean, obviously, I think also, like, I agree with you totally 100%, Ramon. It's just about getting the blood flowing and it reducing the lactic acid. And so I think that's totally right. So
great question.
Yeah, very good question here. Just seeing. Excellent. Jai actually said that's not me. That's me, not Ali G. I don't know, man. I mean, the glasses are the exact same, but that's fine. So let's see. As far as Ramon, some of your favorite plays on the court, because I know you play. You look like a great player. Like when you're playing like singles matches. Let's start with singles. What are some like, solid plays that like if you employ these, you execute, you are gonna win the point more often than not?
Dude, definitely the out call. As soon as the ball hits the ground, no matter where it is, out.
No, you're one of those.
Oh boy, now I got a reputation. No, it's my favorite plays in singles for me personally, because I'm you play to your personality, and I like to end points relatively quickly. I don't like to be in a rally super long if I can avoid it. If I have to, then that's what I'll do. But so I like a lot of these 1-2 punches. So like the slice serve out wide, you know, and then take the forehand, whether I have to move inside it if they're returning to my backhand, going inside out, or if they return cross court, you know, whipping it up the line. I like a lot of the 1-2 punch stuff, and I'll mix in serve and volley. You know, just try and keep them guessing as much as possible.
Gotcha. Great stuff, Ramon. Yeah.
How about you, Mehrban? What's your go-to play? In case we ever play, I'm taking notes here.
No more questions. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So my one of my favorite plays, if I can execute that properly, is the out wide slice on the deuce court. I really love that play because it's really underestimated. Like a lot of people say, you know, like let's go down the tee to the backhand, and sure, that's a great play, especially if you have if your opponent has a weak backhand. But I like the slice out wide because actually, and you know, our friend Peter Freeman from Crunch Time Coaching had a great session on basically big money plays with the slice serve. But you know, if you're slicing out wide, then you have the option of going to the opposite corner, and then once they catch on to that and start sprinting full speed like a kangaroo, do they sprint? I don't know, but then you can go behind them, and then now they've got all their momentum that way, and they're like, oh no, I got to go back, and then you know sometimes they might fall and all that. Hopefully not, but you know, so it's a great play, I think, the out wide, and just in general too, keeping the ball deep. You know, deep and, you know, high net clearance. Like if you can do that a bunch of times, like let's say like in the 4-5 level for me, at least, I do have like quite a bit of spin on my ball, but if I was able to do that for just like maybe 4 to 5 shots in a row, my opponent would cough up like a short ball, you know? And so, you know, when I did play against 4 or 5 opponents, I noticed that. And then now with 5-0s, obviously they can like do that like all day basically. But you know, at those levels, like that's the number one thing I think. Well, obviously there's others like great serve, but that's a really important key to winning. So what do you think about that, Ramon? How about them apples?
That is some of the. I mean, you look at Agassi and what he did, and that strategy. You just take it right past Agassi. Because I think what you just said is so important, which is that high kind of moonball, not moonball, but a lot of spin. If you can get it deep down the center of the court, I mean, good luck trying to attack that up to about the 5.0 level. I mean, even 4.5s I know struggle with that shot, and you can do that all day. I had a coach, and I imagine most people on this call are, you know, the 2.5 to 4.0, maybe a couple 4.5s. You can win so many tournaments just by hitting the ball deep down the middle of the court, because the other guy eventually is going to get impatient, and he's going to try and create an angle off a middle ball, you know, and not too many people can do that effectively and consistently. So I would say deep down the middle is another way to go.
Awesome, Ron. Appreciate that. Let's see. Question from 165680. I have trouble throwing my ball toss in the same place all the time. That's classic, and appreciate you bringing that up there. What would you recommend to try and fix that? So I'll ask you that, Ramon.
So I'm sorry, I forgot your number, but I have a training that you should totally check out. It's called How to Fix Your Toss Forever in 5 minutes or Less. And let me see if I can get you a link to it.
Yeah. Post it in the chat if you can, or if you want, send it to me and I'll post it in the chat, Ramon.
Oh, cool. Here, let's see if this shows up here. It's literally a progression that I learned from a master pro who was pretty good, and he was pretty good at creating juniors that went on to the pro level.
What do you expect?
Right. You know, he's like the Mr. Miyagi, right? So this is the thing. Tell me if you can see this, if that shows up on the chat. www.osatennis. Oh, shit. I messed up the name. tennis360.com/serve training. So it's osatennis360.com /serve training.
Awesome.
Go get that training. It's literally it's a 5-minute process that'll correct your toss forever. I mean, and it's free, so you might as well do it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Everybody definitely check that out. I posted the link in there in the chat, so For sure. Hi to Stephanie Dixon from Manhattan Beach, California. That's where
Hey, and a
Ramon's from.
Californian. Hey, Stephanie, how are
Yes,
you?
West Coast. So, ooh, Jai, aka Ali G. That's not you. I'm just kidding. My apologies if it is you. Jai mentions, with regards to meditation, I practice walking meditation, which is continuous and becomes second nature afterward. But here it is, drum roll, the nectar, dot, dot, dot. It's all about breathing. Oh, it's Jay, sorry. It's all about breathing out slowly and for very long. Over time, the body starts staying for longer periods in equilibrium. Pretty cool. What do you think about that? You ever heard about that sort of meditation there?
It sounds pretty darn good to me. Yeah, I think the exhale is when I can never remember if it's the sympathetic or the parasympathetic. It's when the muscles relax. So it makes sense. Like the longer you exhale, the more relaxed your muscles are going to be. So absolutely.
I'm sympathetic to your
To all those
indecisiveness.
parasympathetics out there.
The pair of sympathizers. All right, I'm gonna stop. Great stuff. Great stuff. So another really cool session that I felt privileged to have it on this guest is Satoshi Ochi, who is the head strength and conditioning coach at the USTA, and it was really cool. And he kind of just walked around or talked about strength and conditioning programming, for tennis players, and it was very interesting. The types of exercises he recommended, and when to partition your exercises and things like that. So as far as strength and conditioning, actually, I'm going to ask you, Ramon, what are some of your favorite exercises that you like to do to get stronger, that you have your students do?
Oh man, that is a mouthful of a question, and it's a great question because if we want to become better tennis players, we changed nothing else, but we got stronger and faster. We would cover more ground, we'd get to more balls, we'd be in better balance, and all that good stuff. So I think for strength and conditioning, I think you start with some sort of mobility, because I think the best tennis players are always going to be the best movers.
Right.
So flexibility, mobility, yoga, I think is amazing for the flexibility, the calmness of mind. And then for strength, I'm a big fan of single leg training because we tend to favor one side over the other. So single leg squats, there's a ton of variations that you can do. Even if you can't do a squat, with both feet, there's a way to kind of do that. So single leg training, isometric holds, stuff where you're holding one position, especially for the core, I think is really good. Interval training, like high intensity intervals, because if you run on a treadmill, and that's your main form of cardio, the problem is that's not the way you're training, or that's not the way you're playing tennis. You play tennis in short bursts with unpredictable movement patterns. So we need to train in 3 dimensions. We need to train in lunges, in multiple directions. I think the lunge is probably maybe one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for?
The most transferable. Thank you, man.
Yes. Yeah. So that's probably one of the most transferable movements that you're going to do on the court. So do your lunges, get your posterior chain definitely strong. A lot of people will argue with this, but I think like the big compound lifts, like bench press, deadlift, squat, I think all of those have a place in a strength building protocol, for what you're doing. Obviously, you don't want to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't want to be lumbering around an extra 100 pounds on the court, but you want to get stronger. So those are the 3 big compound movements that I would say should definitely be in there. And then mix it up, because first of all, you don't want to get bored in the gym, and second of all, your muscles adapt to stuff. So the more you keep them guessing, and the more you progressively make things harder, the more you stay away from that whole plateau thing. That's what I would say.
That's awesome. Yeah, great advice. And if you only bodybuild, your tennis game will be hasta la vista, baby. Sorry, I had to do that. It's so bad. But yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. And another point that I really enjoyed, a presentation, Jeff Rothschild. So Jeff is a registered dietitian. NSCA certified strength and conditioning specialist, master's degree in nutritional science. And his clients include Mike Bryan, Stefan Kozlov, and James Valentine from Maroon 5, which is insane. And he's worked with other athletes and musicians, boxers, swimmers, and such, touring musicians. And he had a great session on carbohydrates, sports drinks, and the heat. And so a lot of cool nuggets in there. And I just wanted to mention, like, one of them is that, sodium is really the most important element in like why we're cramping, because a lot of people, and obviously potassium is great, but a lot of people think that potassium is the main driver in like protecting us from cramping, but it's really sodium. So that's one thing that's really, really important. And he just overall stressed like the importance of drinking the proper amounts of liquid, because you're losing, and I actually have to go back to the presentation, but something like you're losing maybe 1 to 1.5 liters per hour, something like that. And your body can't physically take in as much liquid as you're taking out. So you're naturally going to have a deficit. But that being said, it's so important to hydrate beforehand, and then during enough. And then also really interesting is with the carbohydrates, you're supposed to be eating like 30 to 60 grams or ingesting like of protein, of carbohydrates per hour of play. And I never used to do this, but last year after having Jeff on the Tennis Files podcast, which you also check out, I ate like 60 grams per hour of play, and I actually noticed that my energy was way higher, and he also mentioned that you shouldn't be eating like protein bars and stuff like that, or heavy protein beforehand, because it's hard to digest. So a lot of people make the mistake of ingesting like protein bars before their match, and this is a mistake because it's just hard to digest unless you have a great digestive
definitely stay away from pizza and beer until afterwards. I mean, that just goes without saying.
You know what? I'm tired of this. I'm kidding. No, I think you're right. You're totally right.
Dude, that makes like so much sense. And I am not a dietitian. I don't even play one on TV, but the carbohydrates thing is just the available instant energy. That's why you see pro players eating bananas all the time, and they sip that pink water. I think it's some form of electrolyte replacement, that's got all your magnesium and potassium and sodium and the right balances and stuff. And there's a whole science to that Jeff, if you haven't seen, you should totally go watch that, because it's fascinating, and it has a direct impact on your performance, which is great.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
Mehrban, I hate to do this, man. I hate to bail, but I have got to go teach a lesson in about 20 minutes. So I got to roll. But
yeah, no problem, man. It's so much fun having you, Ramon. I'm gonna look at some of the questions here and see if I can answer them. But thank you so much, Ramon, for being on. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching at home. If you want to follow me on YouTube, check me out on YouTube, or go to osatennis360.com and check out all the cool free stuff I got for you there, and all the products too. It's been a pleasure. And Mehrban, thank you, man. I had a great time.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ramon. All the best.
All right. See ya.
Take care. Okay, guys. Well, appreciate you all staying on. And it looks like, let's see here. Kevin Young, hello, from California. Let me expand the chat here so we can get this out and I can see more questions with the chat box. Just give me one moment. All right. So we have Kevin Young from Northern California. I really appreciate the kind words about the strategy suggestions that we mentioned. And also Stephanie, great question here. Doubles positioning. I heard the Bryans coach say that it's okay to play one up, one back, especially if the person in the back is a great ground stroker. No need to charge the net. Many pros say doubles gets played and one at the net, but I watch many pros and hardly anyone comes in unless they get short balls. So where do you stand on this issue? So, I'm of the camp of that. If you have like a big, a big strength in your game, like let's say for me, actually, I'm be totally honest with you. Like I have a big forehand. I have, very good ground strokes and like, fairly decent volleys, but I actually am more comfortable, you know, serving and then staying back on some points. And so what I do is I like to mix it up. Sometimes I'll serve and volley, sometimes I'll stay back. And I think overall, all things being equal, if you're able to volley decently, you know, well, then the best position is 2 up for you, and then having the other team 1 up, 1 back, because there's like a lot of holes obviously in between you can volley and things like that. But you know, if you're not comfortable with volleying, you know, if it, and you know you're going to make mistakes and things like that, why not go to your strength? So I think it's perfectly fine to stay back. And obviously, you mentioned Stephanie. It's really tough to for pros sometimes to get in the net, you know, especially if they're returning these huge serves and things like that. And sometimes the pros themselves will stay back if they're encountering like really tough returns. So it really just depends on what you're more comfortable with. I mean, I definitely encourage you to train your volleys, because like I mentioned, it's the power position is if you and your partner are able to get these volleys back and you're closer to the net, then you're going to give the other opponents a tough time. And Craig O'Shaughnessy actually mentioned the statistic, and you know, maybe I'll butcher it, but you're actually doing something like hitting 3 out of 5 of your shots at net as winners. So it's whereas when you're at the baseline, it's 1 out of 3 are going to be winners. So it's some sort of statistic like that. And I encourage you to check out Craig's session now, or to get the all access pass, and the link is below. To that. It's actually the last day for the pass, because I want to close it off and concentrate on helping everybody in the Facebook group and answering your questions. But that's my take on it. So use your strength if you're not comfortable at the net. Otherwise, get to the net. Kevin, great. Let's see. Kevin asks, what can players do to avoid getting tennis elbow? So the tennis elbow, as I've talked to my my guests, it's actually very common amongst the amateur level, because you'll never see that really. I believe I talked to Joanna Golden. She's a physical therapist, and she mentioned that in all her years of being on the tour training players, like she has never seen a tennis elbow. So what does that mean? That means obviously that amateurs tend to have not as good technique. So I highly encourage you to either go to you know, a great instructor and check out your technique, or you know, obviously there's good online resources like the Summit, and where you can examine the technique and the technical advice, and then figure out you know, what good technique is. Because if you're tossing the ball incorrectly and you're hitting it, you know, on the left side, or you're like using too much of your arm and you're not using your body, the kinetic chain, then those things are going to really hurt your elbow. So that's some advice from me on that. And let's see if there's any questions. Any other questions here? So I do want to also give out some prizes here. So I'm going to give out 3 prizes. Yeah, Dr. Nero, great stuff. So your choice of either an all access pass if you don't have it, or a review. So you can send in like a video of a stroke that you want me to examine, and I'll give you feedback on it. So in case you already have the all access pass. So let me ask this first question, and it's actually from the summit. I mean, from this session. What state is Ramon from? So if the first person that typed it in the chat will win either an all access pass or a free video analysis from me. So we will wait for the answers, and you can, if you want, you can put in. There it is, Jai. Well played, sir. So you have won. Just email me. Email me with what you want between the two. Ooh, Samuel, nice try. So I'm typing in my email here. And just let me know, Jai, if you want the all access pass or a video review. So obviously with the video review, you're going to have to video yourself and then upload it to YouTube or something like that. So that's that one. And let's see. Let me see what else I want to ask you. Okay, this is an easy one, I think. Which player has won the Monte Carlo Masters tournament 11 times? And sorry, Jai, I can't. you won already. So which player has won the Monte Carlo Masters tournament 11 times? So guess that. Samuel, Shazam, you win. So Samuel, congrats. Just email me again with what you want. So I'll give, all right, so Jai wants the all access. So I will need actually, so Jai, I'll need your, I'll need your email, Jai. So can you just either email me? That's probably best if you don't want to give out your email to everyone. Email me with the email that I provided above. And just remind me that you want the all access pass. Samuel, Kevin, nice try. Samuel, email me as well with your choice. And my email again is in the chat above. I mean, yeah, chat above. And I'm going to ask one more question. Let's see if you all can get in again. Kevin and Sam. I mean, Samuel and Jai. Sorry, you can't be in that. Which player won? Anytime, man. Which player won the 2017 Australian Open on the men's side? This is the third and final prize. We'll wait. So again, which player won the 2007 Australian Open? Oh, Mr. 165. Ah, so close, Samuel. 165680. Again, my favorite name so far. Email me. Oh, Jamie, gosh. You almost got it. So 165680. Email me with what you want between the all access pass or a video review. So everybody, let's see. I want to leave you with one more key tip, and this is just like kind of one of my favorites. So basically, I just want to encourage you all to keep up the passion. Try to always remember why you are playing this game. Obviously there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but you always want to remember at those times, why are you playing the game? What in particular you enjoy about tennis? Is it that you just love the great competitive nature of it? Is it that you love hitting the ball crisply on the strings? Is that you love forming the connections between yourself and others? Those are some things that will really help spur you on to improve your game, because it's just such a wonderful sport. And I personally met so many great people in the game, all these great instructors on the summit. I formed great relationships with them and countless others by checking out different associations and being members of them, like the ITPA and others. And thanks to PTR as well. And, all the other sponsors of the summit, Player Court, for supporting. But if you can join organizations like these, and just that's going to help your motivation as well. And also big ups to Babolat for helping out with the summit. So just also try to be a big student of the game, because there's so many resources. Sometimes you'll feel like you're in despair. You've been working on something for a long time, but you just have to really seek out the best instructors. And, I encourage you to check out all the instructors on the summit and try to see, which sessions you like the most, and then to check out their stuff. And, one last encouragement, obviously, just in general, just purely from what I think will help improve you is, the all access pass is a great investment, because for less than the price of a tennis lesson at many country clubs, $97. And this is actually the last day that you can get the all access pass, because I'm going to concentrate on helping everybody, in my Facebook group for getting the all access pass. I'm closing it down tonight at midnight. But, getting a resource like this, it's basically like having a library of the best instructors on the planet to refer to. So for instance, you're having trouble with your serve, you can go to the great session with Ian Westerman and find out, step by step how to hit the serve and pain points. If you're having trouble with the mental game, you can go to Jeff Greenwald's great presentation on how to play the best tennis of your life. If you want to know exactly what to eat to perform your best, you can go to Paige Love's session on optimal nutrition for tennis players. If you want to know how to reduce the risk of injuries, you can go to a great session with Dr. Neeru Jayanthi. And, you know, if you want to know the top exercises to improve your tennis game, you can check out Dean Hollingsworth's great session, and so on and so forth. You can check out Craig O'Shaughnessy for fantastic winning statistics-based strategies. And you can only do all that, you know, by getting the all access pass, because that gives you lifetime access. So whenever you want, all you have to do is log into at the login page, and you can check them out whenever you want. You can also get MP3 files so you can listen to them whenever you want, and other great bonuses too. And also access to the Facebook group. So that's just, you know, a great investment. So just click the button below to get the all access pass. I really highly encourage it. I'll answer a couple other questions here. How do I work on my toss, Jerry? Jerry T and Lechin, and sorry if I mispronounce. You want to just make sure you're consistent, and a great consistent in like where you're tossing the ball. That'll help you. And I think, you know, one thing, a great tip that helped me is to keep your arms straight, because you don't want moving parts. You know, if you have your elbow bent, then you're like multiple things are moving. But if you have it straight and you're just focusing on lifting up the ball, you know, that's going to afford you great consistency. So I would, you know, give you that tip. 165680. What would you recommend for someone trying to work in professional tennis? So it depends in what capacity, but, you know, I would say one way to do that is to seek out people who are doing so. So, you know, mentors. So try to figure out who is working in professional tennis and then try to contact them, you know, find their contact information. Or a great tip too is to comment on their social media posts on Twitter and Facebook, and then develop a relationship like that. And then, you know, I think they'll be more than happy to help you out. And also just join organizations, you know, like the Professional Tennis Registry, also, you know, USPTA as well, and things like that, because there are so many different connections. Like you go to a conference or, you know, ITPA, and like you talk to people, and then they'll know these people who work in professional tennis. So that's one of the ways to do it. You could also just try out for being a ball kid if that's something you might want to do as well. Ping Lee, a great question, how to win a tiebreaker. There's a lot of different things that go into that. If you want to just assume that we're just keeping our same technique, you just got to figure out, you know, how to play to your strengths and exploit your opponent's weaknesses. So basically, for example, if you have a strong forehand, you want to try to hit as many forehands as you can, and, you know, try to figure out your opponent's weaknesses. And the big thing is to focus on executing play, because, you know, you can't focus on winning, even though that's the end goal. You want to focus on what type of points do I want to play? Like, what is my basic strategy? You know, okay, for example, like I need to hit balls deep until I get a short ball behind the service line, then come in off that. Like, that's what you need to do, to just focus on the points and how to construct them, that type of strategy. So I hope that helped everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I really appreciate you checking out the summit. And so, you know, the free sessions are still up. They'll be up for today only. So you still have tonight to check them out. But again, really encourage you to check out, to invest in the all access pass. Just hit the button below, the green button, and it's your last chance to get the all access pass, because I'll be closing it down to concentrate on helping the hundreds of all access pass members. And, you know, it's you're getting basically 35 lessons actually on fitness, technique, strategy, the mental game. You know, so all your strokes. You're even getting sessions from Babolat on, you know, how to pick the best strings, rackets, apparel, and shoes for your game. You're also getting a great session from PTR's Brian Parkinen on developing great coaches. And it's all wonderful stuff. And, you know, you can refer to them as, you know, whenever you want, wherever you want, with the all access pass. So it's a great investment in your game. I can't encourage you to get it enough. I've got a lot of great reviews from it, and it's just a great investment. You know, whenever you're having trouble, similar to, you know, I have a book called Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. with a lot of life advice from all the, wonderful experts who are flourishing in life, even though they have their ups and downs. And so when I have trouble, I'll go to the fitness session, I'll go to the health section rather, or I'll go to the monetary section section again. I keep saying session because of the summit, but it just really helps me to go to mentors, people that I know a lot about tennis, and that can help me. So it's kind of like a refuge. So Jai, thank you very much. Mochakaram to you too, Jai. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, whether you did live and it was a lot of fun, or if you tune into this replay. And just thank you so much for being a part of this summit. Really am thankful. We couldn't have done this without you all your support. And thank you for a great, fantastic, awesome Tennis Summit 2018. If you ever have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at mehrban@tennisfiles.com. And also check out, the stuff that I do at tennisfiles.com. I have the Tennis Files podcast. We've had 60 great episodes, wonderful stuff from great experts, many of whom are on the Tennis Summit 2018. Yeah, so all the best. I know I'm blabbering on, but I really, really enjoyed it. And thank you. And until next time, this is Mehrban Iranshad from tennisfiles.com and Tennis Summit 2018 signing off. So all the best, and email me if you have any questions. Take care, everybody. See you, Jamie. Take care, everyone. Bye.